Try not to slurp there. In fact, I should just. Oh, I didn't have it plugged in. What the fuck's wrong with me? Just keep that off until I'm done eating. So I'm a fucked up person. I am a fucked up person. Um, so I was so messed up earlier. Um, physically, like I'm having like convulsions. Like my neck is just all twisted up. My spine is twisted up. And I'm okay now because I actually did. Well, I'm not okay now, but I'm better now. I'm slightly better now because I actually did like some stretching. But I mean, it's one of these times where it's just like, I'm just like, I'm fucked. Like, I'm fucked. Like, I can't live like this anymore. I have to change everything. I have to stop working so hard. I have to figure out, I have to slow my roll, just find a way to make money and focus on that. Stop trying to be an entrepreneur. Stop trying to know every single thing in the entire fucking world. Um, Exercise, be sociable. And you know what? As I'm thinking these things, like, I don't even know if that's going to work. Like, I think I'm dying. I think I'm actually dying. I'm so fucked. And then, like, the very second that I feel a tiny bit better, I'm like, fuck it, let's go. Back home, go to the computer, let's get shit done. Pedal to the metal. So, but when I first started walking today, I was like, look, here's the thing, buddy. Like, I'm talking to myself in this way. It's like, in this very, like, baby steps, because we're not doing okay. And it's like, at the very least, you got to stop trying to code the thing you were trying to code yesterday because that fucked you up. At the very least, probably you need to start doing yoga every morning or something like that. But this is terrible, by the way. So tasteless. But it is kind of cool just because, like, I watched this video about 7-Eleven and Family Mart, kind of. Now, every time I'm just, like, really curious. But at the same time, I honestly feel part of the reason why I'm so fucked up is because I just really need dumplings. I need to go eat some dumplings because here's the thing. Everywhere that's open are the places that I usually go to be on my phone and to read and write. Places that have Wi-Fi. 7-Eleven, McDonald's. Those are the only places open right now. So I can't, I mean, I can, but it's harder to do my normal thing, which is sort of like first I go and just get something to eat. Go to a place where they don't even have Wi-Fi, where it would be weird to sit there for a long period of time. And then I have the option of going back home or going for a walk. Usually this one's the longer walk. Like there's a short walk to just somewhere, sit down, eat something. and a long walk. Then sit down in a place and sit there and work for a while. So the fact that there's no dumpling shops open, it just fucks up the whole. Like I'm just sort of like, do I get straight to work? Even though I desperately need to stop, like to relax, or what? What are my other options? Just go to like a lot of 7-Elevens, which I don't want to do. And the things that are open are like busy. They're really busy, and everybody's like drunk and having a good time. It's very awkward for me to be a miserable piece of shit, just sitting there trying to write my things. So, anyways, when I left earlier, I was like, look, maybe you don't need like a whole life change. Like, not, but what you do need is to take a fucking break from the coding you were doing. In fact, I mean, it's fucking my mind so bad because, first of all, I don't even remember why I'm doing it. I've lost track of that. And then I'm exhausted. But in the back of my head, I still kind of know that, like, whatever it is I'm doing with this, then taking it and selling it is a whole nother endeavor. And I'm already exhausted from this part of it. You know? And and I can't believe I coded for that much time and I got so little done. And the more I code, the more coding tasks I think of. I'm like increasing the list instead of reducing it. And then it just gets to the point where everything is work. Everything I think of is work or more work. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that. I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. I better do this. And none of it is like making money. And then it's like on top of that, it's like, and I need to make money. And I need to leave Taiwan. And I need to figure out how to survive in either Japan or Philippines for a while, or decide to pop right back in knowing that might. Well, I don't know that. I don't know. I think you can just go on a visa run and nobody cares if you just do it a few times at least. But I just rather not risk it. I don't know. Maybe I should look into visas. But anyways, I feel fine right now. I feel great right now. You know, that's kind of the problem with the sugar and the caffeine. It's always sort of like maybe the problem is I do too much sugar and caffeine. And then sometimes like, nah, maybe if I just had some sugar and some caffeine, I'd feel amazing. It's usually the latter, but I don't know. Last night I had so much caffeine that I was sort of because I had a Hong Kong style milk tea. Is Hong Kong style milk tea just much more caffeine? Is that kind of the whole thing? Should got some chips. Man, my normal trip to the 7-Eleven is getting expensive. And that's just like my idea of what is expensive has completely shifted to the point where instead of everything is cheap, because oh my God, it's so cheaper than America, now everything's expensive because I don't have any money. So, but anyway, so I have a bunch of threads in X, but that's sort of what I mean by like everything is work. It's like great. It's great that I have all these ideas, but like it's making everything into work. Everything I think of is like more work, more work, more work, which is fine until you're fucking exhausted and then you're like, fuck, I can't do all that work. And I can't really like sleep. Like, yeah, again, when I first came to this room, I just could sleep for now I can't, so I'm sort of like in a I can't sleep and I can't not sleep. But I think that's like the literally I think the number one problem in my life is just that my neck is all fucked up. And it's like making my vagus nerve pulsate and I'm like interpreting that as like psychological and it's like a purely physical thing, mostly physical thing. Um, so where were we? Okay, so yesterday I was working. What was I working on yesterday? And I was always. I'll come back to this, but so when I was walking, and I was like, I need to stop working on the what I was working on. Um, and what I thought was like the reason I'm doing it is for the graphs. Focus on the graphs, and like the coding I'm working on now is sort of getting. It's getting to the point where it's like I'm trying to be very mobile, trying to be able to do everything on my phone. I'm making this code just so that I can make graphs on my phone instead of on my computer, which means that I have to whatever. And so I could just not do this code basically, but it just make my life less convenient. It's like purely for my own convenience that I'm making. I'm like killing myself for code that's supposed to like make my life convenient. Um, but you know, and when I first went out tonight, I was sort of like, yeah, that's pointless. It's stupid. And you got to focus on the graphs. Like I'm getting carried away with like making it mobile and making it like infinite. So that anywhere I am at any time, I can make as many graphs as I want to make. It's like that's not really that valuable. Like just focus on the graph. The graph is the important thing, and you need to sell the graph, and you need to it's whatever. There's a lot going on with the graphs, and I will come back to that probably unless I get lazy. I give myself full permission to skip it, but I do have a bunch of notes written down about it. But yeah, so I thought I was like losing sight of what the point was. And you really got to focus on the graphs as the that is the actual point. Um, that said, what the fuck was I doing last night? Well, one thing is I successfully set up an example of using the Google. Knowledge Graph Explorer API. And it didn't seem very useful. But it's nice to have that done. I went in pretty deep on Shopify. I made a script that gets the sitemap. I made a script that gets each of the pages. I made a script that gets each of the blog posts. So I'm very close to being able to do anything with anything I can do with WordPress, I can do with Shopify. And obviously, with the Universal Commerce Protocol and agentic commerce going on, that's good. Just if I'm already able to interact with Shopify websites, that's great because I have the foundation, and then I can build the agentic stuff on top of that. What else we got going on? So, and then I realized that Shopify, Shopify uses GraphQL. Every Shopify uses GraphQL. So you can use that API to grab to grab whatever content from that website in whatever way you want to grab it. And you could definitely combine that with a chatbot, give the chatbot the ability to grab, or you can have, you can connect the chatbot to 15 or 50 or 100 different Shopify sites that are all in the same category. And if you ask it for a pair of shoes, and it grabs 100 different Shopify sites that sell shoes and finds specifically what you're looking for, and then serves it to you in chat. Actually, that part is not part of the GraphQL, but UPC. Okay, so that's where I started things. I feel like there was an intermediary thing before I got down to business, but I picked up where I had left off with the syncing the vector database and the graphs. Now I made a file that will create a new vector database. I made a file that will sync the vector database. I fixed what was wrong with it previously. Yeah. Oh, my head and neck. I don't know. I don't even know if I can do this right now. So, so I fixed what happened. What happened wrong with it? So basically, for one directory right now, I have the files where it will sync automatically. If I edit one of the files, it will sync automatically. If I delete one of the files, it'll delete it off the vector database. If I add a file, add it onto the vector database, I don't have to do anything. And I have the front end where it'll go through a whole list of URLs, turn them into graphs, and pop them. I don't know. I feel like I was doing more with the graphs. I think the intermediate step there was like, I was working on scripts that identify whether it's WordPress or Shopify, and we can go down one path or another. But anyways, for the time being, I'm more than happy just to scrape the JSON. Well, that I think I spent a lot of time on that. Was just like looking at the JSON, scraping the JSON from Shopify sites, and looking at the JSON, and it kind of ended up spending more time on it than I would have, just because the first website I picked didn't have any JSON. And I assumed so that's all Shopify sites are not going to have JSON. And I have to find a workaround or create it, But then it was like, no, that was the only one that didn't have JSON. They all do except for that one. I was like, maybe it's, it's being generated by JavaScript instead of rendered server side. And so that's the problem. Is you got to find it and like suss it out. It's there though, or stuff like that. Spent a whole bunch of time. But it turns out it's 99% of them have JSON LD, and if one doesn't, unless there's a really good reason, just skip that one. But anyway, so then I gave it like a UI for all of these like syncing files. I gave them a UI. So this is where it stands right now. If I want to create a new vector database, it will automatically create a local folder as well. I can choose the directory from here and then set the city, put all the domains, and then it will create all the graphs, one for each domain, with the city name in the file title, and put them into the folder. And then, so that folder will now. But like I have the files that make it so that one of the folders syncs for any folder, and that you define the folder outside of that file in the UI, right here in this choose a folder thing, and then it will. So seeing as the syncing works, like that should be the easier part. And then to put it into this site right here. And then, so this is great where I have almost everything I need here. But once I make the graph and make the directory, make the vector database, basically, at this moment in time, without signing into the back end, I have no way of testing it. I have no way of looking at the JSON, seeing if it's good or not. I have I have no way of what's the other thing that I would need to do? Using the directory. Right now, none of these directories, no directory that I have would have a UI, except for that first one that was like used as the example. So I need a way to have a UI and like to swap it out. I probably want a way that I can list the directories, like all the directories that are available, like buttons or links, like a way to swap it out instead of having to rely on knowing the URLs. And then I probably want a way of listing all of the files that are in that directory. And probably want a way of actually showing the directory entries without having to go through the chatbot. So the chatbot use is optional, or you can just scroll through the entries. And maybe there's a way to, like, instead of just showing the raw JSON, we pull it out and turn it into like a good-looking profile for each of them. And then there's a million other like looking. So the point that's already like a lot. And just the more I do, like the more tasks I think of. Oh, I should do that, and I should do that, and I should do that. And it's sort of like the reason why I was like pushing to get this done without like taking a break until it's done is because as soon as it's done, then I can go work on graphs and directories without being here. I can walk around and walk wherever I am when I feel like it's time to sit down and get some work done. I can take my phone out and do that. As opposed to, okay, now I got to go home. I can sit down and write in a notebook And when I think things through clearly, I immediately move from notebook to phone. Um, I can see a business, and before I move on past it, go look them up on the website, run the scrape, make a graph, or find out that they don't have a website or that their graph came out bad, and go try to talk to the owner and get some info from them. Or I can make it and show it to them. Oh, and then there's so the other thing is like, then I want to make it so that I can like the graph very quickly and easily gets turned into the three, at least the three, the knowledge bot, feed bot, um, browser bot, the three-pronged response. And then all of this is things that I can build the agentic stuff on, the UPC, the agent, and I want to have in the graph, at the very least, I want to have in the graph, like what is the link to their product.json if they're on Shopify, like if do they have an agent card, yes or no? If they do have an agent card, maybe all the agent info is in the graph. Are they using MCP? At the very least, what is the link to their MCP? But otherwise, what is the actual content of it? These are things. So it just seems like I'm trying to put everything else off until I get done with this so that I can be mobile. But then it just keeps becoming a larger and a larger task. And then right in the middle of all this, I realized that they have retired 4.0. So I don't even know what models are being used or how much they're costing per token. And then like all the new models require this government. I need to give my government ID and 3D face scan to OpenAI, which I guess I'm okay with. I get like I don't fucking whatever, but I've heard that there's people saying online that like their application didn't get accepted and there's like no option to appeal, and so you just can't use any reasoning models or ChatGPT 5. Which I only want to use the cheap one. I don't know. It's just and then assistance API is going away. And so yeah, so as I'm making all these directories, I'm killing myself making these directories, but I was using the O4 reasoning model to generate the answers for each of these directories before. So I don't even have that. I don't even know, like, as I'm making all of these files and I'm making these graphs and making these directories, whether or not it's even going to end up being what it was. Or whether I need to go about it, do a different route, or like hard code the templates instead of having it generate templates on the fly. So it's just becoming a bigger and bigger and more painful task. And then it's just these little things, of like passing the variables from one file to another, or like it's just not working very well, and I'm just struggling. It's just taking so long. There's so many little things to do, and honestly, I could, like, somebody that's vibe coding could vibe code this whole thing in 5 minutes, but I don't have like a vibe code setup. So how long would it take me to get the setup before I could then vibe code in 5 minutes? And then the problem with that is you don't understand how the code works, and probably that's going to come back and bite you at some point. Even though you get there way faster, but then like down the road you might run into a problem and you don't know how to solve the problem, and your agent isn't solving the problem either. It's making it worse. So you don't know what to do. So I think that's all. Yeah. So I mean, the main thing is I need to get the way of looking at the JSON and a way of using the vector store after I make it. Those two things. That way I'm not just out there making vectors, graphs blindly, and then making 100 of them before I come home and go sign into the back end and realize that they're all garbage. So about them graphs. So again, the thing I wanted to, what I was thinking about, I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I making these directories again? Why am I making these directories? And it's like, actually, I'm not making the directories. I mean, I'm making the directories, but it's a byproduct. I'm making graphs. And the point of making graphs is so many-fold. There's so many different reasons. There's the GEO aspect. There's a lot. I have 18 different reasons. I wrote at least 18, 20 different reasons here. But I'm getting tired, so I'm going to just skip it. I'll save it for next time. That's good enough. That's a 30-minute one. For some reason, it felt way longer. Yeah, okay. I guess I'm going to leave it at that. Wish me luck. Wish me luck.